This video was better almost a decade ago than it is now. That sounds familiar, don't it? That kind of sounds like literally the last videos on my channel. And I ain't gonna lie, it is. But this is for kind of the other side of the tracks. But meaning in racing game form, the ones involving tracks trying to be like a real racing simulator. Gran Turismo Sport was the original. The other games followed. In terms of NBA 2K, Live was the original, and then 2K followed. Gran Turismo being the original, maybe 10 years ago it was still the best. Now, it ain't. NBA Live being the original, maybe not 10. Maybe about 20 years ago it was the best, but not now. NBA 2K is now the best, and many other racing games is now better than GT Sport. But, well, this is focusing on NBA 2K, meaning the one to come out later, not the original. It's still not perfect. It's far from perfect. In fact, there's something that would honestly need a boycott if this game wasn't the best in the series. But given that there's really no point in boycotting the best game in the series. Because, well, it's the best one, but it's my alternative, the worst one. It's perfectly fine boycotting the worst one because there's better ones I can go to, but, well, this one's the best, and it's still not necessarily good in NBA 2K. And, well, here's one of the main reasons it ain't good. It's online quote-unquote career mode. Yeah, you can skip the cutscenes. That's one of the main reasons I actually bought the game this year, is you can finally skip the unneeded cutscenes. Hallelujah, Live had that before. That's one of the areas where Live was better. So they had to do what Live did because they noticed people were starting to like Live because of that, so they switched. But you know something that Live still hasn't actually gotten right? The microtransactions and the stupid nitpicky nickel and dimey bit. 2K's never gotten that right either. Both games have that in a terrible state. And here's a showcase of one of the ways in which it's a terrible state. This is getting done with a slam ball game. It's like that thing that was on ESPN2 like 8 years ago where the people jump on the trampolines and like the dunk and stuff. It's fun, but it's not realistic. That's not really what I'm complaining about. It's fine, it's new, whatever. What I'm complaining about is this was done against other online players. No crowd, no contracts, no official NBA anything. This is totally meant for fun. In fact, the games don't even count on your official record. There is a record in which you do this mode, but it's not your official record because you're not just playing an NBA game with other players online. This is arcading. And yet, it still counts in your official career mode. And not just because it gives you stuff, because it does. You get a very small amount of virtual currency, which is how you like level up in that. But that has its own set of parameters, which I'm not getting into here. The main focus of this is, yeah, you still get stuff. It's not the main grind in order to level up. That is the story mode, the direct story mode, meaning follow along the story that has like the cutscenes and stuff. You can take that as you may. But, well, at least in my opinion, if that's going to be what gives you the most amount of things in terms of virtual currency and upgrades like badges and stuff to progress through the game, that should be what affects the stuff that goes on with virtual currency and badges and stuff, meaning endorsements and sponsorships and all that you get throughout the game. That makes sense, doesn't it? The story mode affects the things you get because of the story mode. Meaning, if it wasn't for progressing through the story mode in the first place, you wouldn't get these things at all. But now that I'm out of the story mode, now that I'm in the online mode, it still affects things that I got through the story mode. And here's an example. I just got done playing an arcade slam ball game, as I said before. I lost. I'd rather not say the score. I'm just gonna say it was 21-20 because there's no way you can prove me wrong. Actually, it has to be 1-2, so 22-20, whatever. You can actually prove me wrong with whatever, you get what I'm saying. I'm gonna say I only lost by 2 to make myself feel better. And so I go back to play the next game whenever, fine and dandy. I'm not in the story mode, so I can just do this for as long as I want and not really worry about any necessarily consequences. It doesn't hurt my official record. There's no contracts involved with this, so you're not losing stuff per game you play. So even though it's not that much payout, it's still fun, and that's the overall point of a video game, is to have fun. But then I get a message. No, not from another player, from something involved in the story mode. This is already looking iffy, isn't it? This is kind of looking like those games that people don't like that forces you back in the story mode when you're in the middle of doing something completely different. But this is actually worse. It doesn't necessarily force you into the story mode. It penalizes you for not being in the story mode. It doesn't just force you back in there to continue it. Penalizes you for not being in there in the first place. I'm going to show you what happens and then explain why this is just straight up wrong. For one thing, it's straight up wrong to begin with. There's no sound. If you save a video with direct capture anymore, there's no sound. 2K19 has no sound involved with direct capture. That's pretty big and lazy. I guess it's to avoid copyrighted music and all that, but guess what? You can turn that down. You can turn down the music for many a 2K game, for many a live game. That's just a thing that exists. They should have sound on a direct capture. You can just turn off the music. That's an easy enough thing. But this, there's no easy about it. This is just straight up broken. As y'all see, this is about as arcade as it gets. There's no story mode involved with this. It's just dunking on each other. I have Brian Scalabrine dunking on each other. Take that as you may, but that's part of the fun. I quite enjoyed this mode. Brian Scalabrine Bill getting to do crazy 360 dunks and jumping 15 feet in the air. That's cool. This is not. It penalizes you because you're not in the story mode. Doing the things it says to do in the story mode. Meaning wear a certain suit at a certain time in a certain game. But guess what? This has nothing to do with those games. In fact, there's nothing in which I can show this at this point because I couldn't actually go to the inventory here because I wasn't in a store. The sat nav itself is annoying. You have to go through the store and then go through another loading time instead of just doing everything on the main screen now. Some people like that, some people don't. In my opinion, it should be an option where you get to see the flashiness of going to the store if you want, but it shouldn't be required. But again, that's not even the main thing here. The main thing is here. When I went to that store to do the thing that it said, get the Susan, which I have a contract with, which is Jordan, because I'm old. I feel old. Jordan was cool in the 80s, right? And then what was also cool in the 80s? Dodge Aries? No. Dodge Chart? No. But the 80s is close to the 70s, and what was cool in the 70s? Dodge Chargers, and they get way off subject. I picked Jordan just because I don't think that much into it. But yeah, apparently they want you to wear the shoes in the games. That makes sense. Wear the Jordan shoes in the NBA games where people actually see you, and then wear it in the story mode in general, because the things that I do in the story mode are practice in the team gym, which it makes sense to wear the shoes that you got there because you're just training with your team, and that just makes sense. Team camaraderie, branding, unity, all that. And then obviously wear it in the games too, because that's the point of the contract. Wearing the games, sell shoes and all that. Meaning the actual NBA games that tie into the story directly. Anything that isn't actually team practice or an NBA game, they didn't even give me shoes for. They let me get what's called a quote-unquote level 1 shoe with the contract that I signed. An in-game contract, not with real money. Because I did this, and this to deserve the contract in the story mode. Yay, I get shoes for like NBA games and doing practices and stuff. That's cool. Plus other incentives as well that are involved with that, fine and dandy. But I didn't get shoes for anything not involved with that mode. That shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Anything that ain't the story mode shouldn't really affect what you did in the story mode. That makes sense? But no, of course it affects what you did in the story mode. Because, remember how I said that I got the contract without real game money, that's just my progression throughout the game, and that's what I quote-unquote won and all that? Well, you know what? I didn't actually win Jack Diddley. Because what this actually did is they gave me about 2,000 my team points for doing quote-unquote signings or pictures or whatever with the company. And that's a one-time thing to get the next contract. 2,000. And they gave me free shoes to wear in the NBA games, and then at team practice. That sounds like a good deal, doesn't it? You get extra stuff, and then you get free stuff. But they also force you then to also wear a different shoe when you're playing not in the story mode, which I honestly had no idea about, because at the contract that I signed it said level 1 shoes. Meaning I just figured those were the cheapest ones. I wanted to go ahead and get some type just so I qualified the initial requirement of wear it in the game. Because that just made sense. Instead of paying $3,000 for a shoe and getting $2,200 my team, so it ends up being a negative, instead I get slightly less and then just get the minimum shoes that count for the requirements that are needed. But now it's forcing me to actually buy a 4,000 virtual currency shoe to wear in the not story mode thing. So what does this actually lead to? A net loss. This is actually penalizing you. And I'm not even over exaggerating. Yes, you can actually do a contract where you get all of the shoes unlocked. But then you basically get nothing. You get very little, and then you're forced to go through menu after menu to change your things depending on where you are on the courts. And it doesn't even tell you that you need to do that. It's kind of the obvious thing that you wear your branded shoes in the NBA. That's been obvious for literally 30-something years. But I don't ever see it being an issue, let's say, to even give a broader example of a different sport. I've never heard anyone complaining about Tony Stewart. He seems to like Coca-Cola, whether that's been a sponsor in the past. It probably has. They're sponsoring NASCAR, but nonetheless, he drinks Coca-Cola, just like in interviews and stuff at the Monster Energy series. So in theory, you'd think he'd drink that, the Monster Energy, but no, he drinks the Coca-Cola. He's not driving a car. He's not even in that. He's an owner, and then it's not even necessarily directed with him being an owner, in which he drinks Coca-Cola. It's just him in an interview, like at the track or something. It's not him in an official interview. It's just getting interviewed because he's popular. Nobody cares. He's not penalized for that. It's perfectly fine. In a video game, which is supposed to be fun, they penalize you for doing something that doesn't even involve what you initially got the thing for. In a video game. Why do you do this? Money. It's 100% completely, truly, and really money. They scam you into signing a contract, and once you actually have to pay more than you earn from the contract itself to even satisfy the contract. This is a complete scam, and honestly, I'm not having it. After I saw this, I was completely done with the entire section of the video game. Not just the mode, meaning the story mode, but the entire My Player section, which encompasses online play as well. I am not going to be playing online if they're penalizing me for it. And I'm not going to do the story mode if they're forcing me to lose what I've earned over it. I earn virtual currency game by game. That's fine, that's what it should be. But I'm not paying more virtual currency just to satisfy a contract than I earn from the contract. I'm not doing that. Period. Not. No. It's a video game. It shouldn't be a grind, necessarily. That's a different video. But it definitely shouldn't be downright penalization. I'm not having that in the slightest. But I'm also not boycotting NBA 2K19 either. Because they're still the best one. I can go to the offline mode and just play the My GM, the My League. Play now. Even just online PvP just with real NBA teams. All that's perfectly fine. There's no positive or negative to that. It's purely about fun. And it's still really fun. It works well. The servers are acceptable. They're not good. I've seen worse servers in games before. From what I can tell, they're not worse than 2K16, the last one I played. At least I haven't gone downhill on that. And it's still fun in other game modes. Granted, that also kind of sounds like Gran Turismo as well. It's still fun in Gran Turismo Livery Editor. It has nothing to do with the online racing. It's still fun in NBA 2K19, my league. It has nothing to do with my player. But you know what? Gran Turismo is 100% completely an online-oriented game. It forces you to be online to even save. Its competitors don't do that. Gran Turismo is worse than its competitors. At least NBA 2K has a solid offline mode that's honestly worth the money I pay for the game, really. It feels like playing real basketball and have fun with it and will for a very long time to come. 2K16, the one that I played before, also had this. And I'm still willing to pay the full $60 for the new game that's still kind of the same. It feels kind of the same. But with the new rosters, supposedly better graphics, supposedly better physics, and I'm perfectly fine with this. You know why? Because 2K's the winner. They're doing good. I don't mind paying for the better game. Because then supposedly the money I put in paying for it goes back into it, and then it gets that much better. I don't mind that. It's still bad. This is downright game breaking, but if I just avoid that part of the game and play what's fun, it doesn't matter. I'm not necessarily annoyed to the point of not coming back to it at all. Should this be fixed? Yes. Does this need fixed? Yes. But Live ain't fixing it either. It's even worse than Live than 2K. So I can't blame 2K that much for not fixing it if Live doesn't. I understand all in all it's business perspective. If you're selling more, then there's not that much need of it. And they are. Gran Turismo's selling less. NBA as a whole, whether it be the video games or the league, is still on an uprise. Gran Turismo as a whole, and kind of sort of sim racing as a whole as well, is on the downward spiral. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to be playing NBA 2K more than simulation racing games, but I will say NBA 2K is kind of fit the moniker of, it's kind of Forza now. Just wasn't the original, but it's getting to be better than the original now. Still far from perfect, but it's the best of the alternatives. It's better than all of them. So, yeah, is it broken? Yes, but is it more broken than the rest of them? No. So, that's that, folks. It's the best of what we have. Some may think we shouldn't accept this at all, and not buy it at all. For no matter how good a game is, whether it's better than the rest or not, if it's still something blatantly wrong with it, you shouldn't pay for it. And I can see that argument. But I would hope for buying a game, at least some of the money that you spend to buy the game actually goes back in the game. How much it is, I don't think we're ever going to know that, but I would hope it's at least some. So, maybe, just maybe, the money I'm actually paying for this will eventually make this stuff better. Whether stuff directly correlated to what is fixed, or just miscellaneous stuff like graphics or physics or whatever. It's still winning. So if it's still ultimately making it win by more, I don't mind. But I'm not coping with a losing game anymore. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to play what's better. I know there's somewhat loyalty involved too. People attempted to be loyal to NBA Live back in the early 2010s, and that just kind of backfired to the point of the game didn't even exist for a few years. People are attempting to still be loyal to Gran Turismo now. And as I said, that's a good community. That's cool. We're still attempting to do the best with what we have, but it's part of the community too. It's a good community. I don't really mind taking the good people of that community to something more deserving, meaning just a better game. We're the same people no matter what game we play. So why not play the better game? And this is showing it. nowadays everything's money hungry, and the better one wins. The better one generally becomes a monopoly and can kind of do what they want. But if they're better than the alternatives, what can you really do? You just kind of either have to accept it or ignore it, and if you ignore it, you're kind of just penalizing yourself to an extent. So, take this whole thing as you may, but I'll just kind of end on this. Gran Turismo is losing. NBA 2K is winning. Forza ain't perfect. NBA 2K ain't perfect. Gran Turismo is far from perfect. Life is far from perfect. You know what? I'm going to play the game that's not perfect, but at least not bad. Is that a bad thing in general? Well, honestly, I think it does depend on the person. But there are some bad things in general even involved with the best of games. This should definitely be fixed, and there's kind of no way to look at that badly. If you think this doesn't need fixed, then I don't even know what to say there. People could be negative all they want and who they support in terms of games and stuff, but no matter what game it is. Stuff like this is downright game breaking. Playing something not even involved with the main thing that hurts the main thing. AKA, that's kind of sport mode too, you know. Think about it. Online lobbies had the never being able to race thing if it's rolling short. Now it's in sport mode. Now if that happens in sport mode, you either just have to sit through doing nothing for an extended amount of time, or get penalized for it. In 2K, you do something in a completely different mode. You either just have to ignore the mode completely that you get penalized for it, or you get penalized for it. In live, it's worse. In Forza, it's better. That's that, folks. That's that. And that needs to be fixed. With this encompassing the whole game, until another game becomes close to it, doesn't necessarily need to, and I'm not really expecting it to. I'm not going to be buying this game yearly, but as long as it's noticeably better than the others, I'll still continue to buy it. But I'm not buying this yearly too, so fix this and then maybe I will buy it yearly, 2K. Yeah. I'm still not necessarily happy about this, but I'm more content than the competition.